Hey, Facebook. Hey, we're live. Yay. Hey, it's Tuesday. Or wait, actually, it's Wednesday,
It's
right?
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. So, hey, make sure you guys subscribe, share, like on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss the latest thing that we have going on our broadcast. So, uh, today I thought we would talk about the three A's. Now, a lot of you guys may be like, "What are the three A's?" So, this is something that is we need to take into consideration that there are actually three things that we are all needing in a relationship. So, uh, Damien, you don't mind? Can you read the definition of attention?
Attention, which is the first A, is notice taken of someone or something. The regarding of someone, something as interesting or important, and the synonyms notice, observation, and curiosity.
All right. So, Damien, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a place where you're like, you always see a woman, or maybe you date a woman, and you're like, that girl seems like she is an attention getter?
Yeah. A lot of times that depends on what she's wearing and the way she's carrying herself.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of times you can get a feeling of a person by the way they're carrying themselves, by the way they, just their mannerisms. So you can tell whether that person is a attention getter or she's just there just to just to do whatever she's doing. But a lot of times with what a lot of times what women wear, of course now depending on what time of night that you see this person, because a lot of times people are going out to eat or clubbing, to bars, you know.
That they want for attention may not be there, Damien.
Right, right, and that's a per relationship, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of us have careers to where we have to travel. So we're not going to be able to spend as much quality time with our significant others we would like to. So hopefully that significant other that we're with understands that and doesn't have to go out and seek attention elsewhere because they're not getting it at home, because the husband or whatever case is traveling. So hopefully that they're quite understanding of that and they don't seek for attention elsewhere. So
Well, and I think a lot of times you need to realize too that having the ability to have that attention that somebody may want in a relationship, you need to know that everyone has a different amount that they give to people.
right.
So you may not be with somebody that necessarily says, "Hey, I'm coming through the door.
Right,
I want you to give me a hug every time you come through the door."
right,
Right?
right.
And so, what do you think? How do you think we should deal with something like that? If somebody just always wants you to be noticed.
Well, I'll say this. That depends on the early stages of the relationship. Like I've stated in one of our previous videos, the element of surprise. When you're first dating someone, if you're the kind of person that likes to call your significant other in the morning or to send them a text message saying good morning, hope you have a good day, and you're consistent with that, then that's something that you're probably going to have to keep doing. So it depends on how in the beginning stages of a relationship, how you move forth as far as providing attention, to that other person. So if that person comes home from work and say that person comes home from work and your wife is cooking and she's used to greeting you at the door when you come home and gives you a hug, kiss, then that's probably more than likely going to be a consistent thing that you do. But like I said, in the early beginning of a relationship, if that's something that you two don't do, then there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because you both are accustomed to how each other's behavior patterns are. So it just really depends. It depends.
So this is something we need to observe about, about people when we get ready to date them. You need to really figure out where they're at in their attention. In this example, you could be at McDonald's and the girl grabs the soda and throws it across the floor at the worker, right?
Right, right, right,
And that's a norm for her,
right, right,
right?
right. And there also comes the time where a person can become too needy. They want that person to greet them, or they want that person, to just give them attention 24/7. That's being too needy. And so eventually, over time, that will eventually wear off. So I think there's a fine line and there's a balance between the two on how each other should get attention from each other. You have to balance that out. Just like I said, some people are accustomed to having that attention. They want it 24/7, and other people consider that as being too needy. It just depends.
So there's a lot of great points that Damien's making. So, this is something you need to kind of think about when you get ready to date someone. You know, think about how much uh, the way that you express your love may be different. And so consider how much time and attention that person may need. And attention can also be just uh, taking the time and sitting and relaxing on the couch. That's the same amount of, people like that attention of just relaxing, spending quality time. So there's a lot of avenues when we're talking about have the attention.
Right, right. And some people just want, peace and quietness. You walk through the door, you go in, eat dinner, and then you just sit down and relax and you know, um, try to suppress everything that's going on during that day or during the week. You just want to sit down, relax, get your thoughts together, and then you guys can go out and communicate about whatever it is that you guys are going to communicate about. So there's a lot of people like that. We don't want to. If I walk through the door, I don't want to walk through the door and all of a sudden yap 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 yap. I personally don't want that. Give me time to come through the door to take a breather, to relax, and then later on during that evening we can talk about how our days went or whatever the case may be. So like I said, it depends on each person, but me personally, I want to come in the door, relax, get my thoughts together, then we can talk about whatever it is we want to talk about.
So let me know, you guys out there, listen, give me your feedback about attention, maybe a story of somebody that was that was needy all the time or attention. We'd love to hear from your feedback, how you feel about attention, and then let us know either in inbox me or email us so that we can actually take those stories and share them. Uh, and then the next one, Damien.
We're gonna talk about affection, and we've gotten into this a couple of weeks ago. We're gonna dig a little bit more deeper into it. A gentle feeling of fondness or liking. So that's what the definition of affection is: a gentle feeling of fondness or liking.
So I think a lot of times affection does not just have to be a sexual thing, right? Because sometimes we get that confused in the aspect of when we're dating people of affection. And like Damien was saying, you don't have to mull over somebody because it may not be something that they're used to or want in their life, of someone just always being at a place where that they feel like they have to have that affection all the time.
Right, right. And I think that's a discussion. Like I've said before, that's a discussion that the two of you should have, so that way you'll know how to approach the situation. Because you're right, a lot of people aren't really all that affectionate. So for a person to do that, all the time can get old, and it shows neededness, desperateness. So it depends on that person that you're married to or that person that you're dating. I think that's something that needs to be discussed, because me personally, I get into that conversation. She always wants to know, am I kind of affectionate person? Do I like to hold hands? Do I like hugging all the time? And so on and so on. Yes, I like doing that, but not 24/7. Because like I said, the element of surprise is a wonderful thing. You have to be able to provide that element of surprise. And so a lot of people, it gets old. So you always want to keep the relationship new. And so a lot of times I think you need to limit the affection that you give a person. Give that person affection when they're not expecting it. I think that's the best way to go about approaching that situation. So if a person is expecting your affection all the time and then you don't give it to them, then it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? What's wrong? So it's gonna leave some questions in hand. So you're gonna have to answer some questions of what's going on. So you have to just be careful with it. And like I said, it depends on the person that you're with. And you'll know, because if you've been with that person a while, you'll know how affectionate that person really is and how far to take it.
Yeah.
You'll know
Yes,
once you've
yes.
been with the person long enough to know whether they like holding hands in public, whether they like kissing in public, and so on. You'll know, and that takes time. So I tell people, don't take it personal if that significant other isn't that kind of person. Don't take it personal. They're just not like that. So what you have to do in that kind of situation is limit the affection. Give it to them, but limit it.
Yeah, nobody wants to feel like that they can't move 3 steps without you being on their heels,
Right.
right? And I've seen relationships. I was talking to Damein today. Like, I've seen relationships where that man is glued to the hip of that woman, right? And I'm thinking, man, give her some breathing room. And it's also a warning sign. It's also a warning sign when people are at a place where you feel like they have to be 2 feet from you. And you need to know, maybe in the beginning, we have that love stage in the beginning, Damien, but at some point, there has to be some space,
Right.
right?
Right. And that's why I said on the video a couple of weeks ago, I personally, when I'm dating someone, I would like to see them maybe once a week, maybe if that. Because like I said, man, relationships are about keeping it new. You don't want to be able to figure that other person out totally. So you got to sometimes keep your distance. Now, there are those people that like to be with each other 24/7, and I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that, but it's all about keeping that relationship new. Unless you guys have an understanding, and both of you are the two types of people that just can't live without each other. So you have to be around each other 24/7. So if that's what you do, then that's what you do. But you got to keep it new. You got to keep relationships new, because they get old real fast if you are doing the same routine over and over and over again. Now, like I said, that's why I like to limit my casual time with someone to maybe once a week, maybe if that.
On dating in general, I mean, you only want to see them once a week.
Yeah, dating in general, once a week. That's it. Because so I'm said you're supposed to be so busy, and like I said, you have to get that person to be able to, you know, have thoughts about you, positive thoughts about you. You don't want that other person to know your routine. You can't repeat the same things over and over and over and over again. So if you guys, let's say, I'll give you an example, okay? Case in point. If you guys meet up, you guys have it to where you guys meet up for dinner every Friday night at Red Lobster, you know, uh, and she knows that. I mean, sometimes you're gonna have to switch it up a little bit, because that gets too routine, and sometimes you have to break the routine. So, like I said, me personally, once a week, maybe twice a week, but I don't I don't want to be around my girl 24/7. I just don't. I just don't. I have things I gotta do. I'm focused on my purpose and other things I got going on. So, and I'm pretty sure, depending on how lovey dovey she is, she feels the same way. So we have our own lives. We're trying to build something, and then once we decided to totally commit to each other, and we decide to get married, then we'll see each other every day. But in the initial dating stages, man, you gotta keep that. I mean, you gotta keep that moving, man. You just can't have the same routine over it because you become too predictable. You're just too predictable. You don't want to be the kind of person that's predictable. So you got to switch it up, and it gets old quick if you don't do that. So I mean, me personally, that's why I like the once a week rule. That's why.
Well, I mean, when I was dating, I mean, I got a mama bear now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But when I was dating, I was like, man, I mean, now for me, I had to see him 2, 3 times,
right,
right? So
right.
we're all different in that way.
Oh, you have to see 2 or 3 times.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
like hey, let's hang out, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we're all different that way. So and then I think that's something you got to communicate, to each other
Right,
too.
right.
Because you might think sparks are flying, and she's like, well, sparks are not flying.
Right.
Well,
Well, like I said, you have enough time for that whenever you guys decide to take it to the next level. There's going to be plenty of time for that. You guys are going to see each other every day. So, I mean, look, I'm just saying, in the beginning stages of it, you gotta keep it new. And even if you guys do decide to commit to each other and move in with each other, there's a long list of things that you still have to do while you guys are living with each other to keep the relationship new. So I mean, it never gets old. It never fails. I mean, regardless, you're gonna have to keep it new all the time. So you might as well start in the beginning of the relationship. So like I said, you spending 24/7 with her, that time will come. It'll come once you guys decide to get married, and then after what 10 years, 10 plus years, you guys get tired of each other. So I mean, even like I said, even then you have to keep it new. So that's why during the beginning, I'm pretty sure before she met you, she has a routine. She has a time to where she goes out to lunch with her coworkers at noon. And when she gets off work at 5, she goes to the gym. She has her routine. So you don't want to break that because you as a man, you're supposed to have your routine as well. So just because you guys get married, I think it's good to stick to your routine because that keeps the relationship new. It's just that when we get married and get committed with each other, we try to, you know, try to try to, mend our situations together to where, we break our routines, and then that's when things start to get old. So I always tell a woman if I'm dating her, say, look, I know you do these things, I know you do these things, but we have to have something set during the week where we do something by ourselves, at least once a week, because we know we have other things we're committed to have to do. That's why I say once a week. But like I said, you have to keep it new, keep it new, and try to keep the same routines that you had even before you guys really got committed to each other. You don't want to break that cycle. So, but that's a conversation that you and her should have. And so, you guys will have to adjust to it accordingly.
well, I think too, a lot of times when I see Damien, you'd be amazed at how many relationships end up being where like that person's trying to change that person,
Right,
right?
right,
Like they used to hang out on Tuesday nights and go watch the game. I'm just using this for example at the
right,
bar,
right,
and now you're seeing this person, and you no longer do the things that you used to do,
right,
right?
right,
So I think you got to be careful on not no one people should anyone that you're seeing. should accept you for who you are and not trying to change you.
Right. When I talk about changing, I mean, when I talk about sticking to your routine, I'm talking about hobbies. I'm not talking about you going to clubs, you go to clubs every Friday, Saturday. I'm talking about hobbies, things you like to do. Like you go paintball, shooting every Tuesday. And I'm talking about hobbies that you like to do that, you really shouldn't in the beginning stages have to change unless you guys have come to an agreement to where you guys want to spend time with each other that particular day. There's nothing wrong with that. But uh, hobbies, not like I said, not when it comes to vices, gambling, alcohol, drugs, all that other stuff. I'm talking about hobbies. So, and once you guys commit it, then you guys discuss the do's and the don'ts and how much time you guys really want to spend with each other and have a date night at least once a week. At least you have to have a date night with your significant other at least once a week. Now, whether that once a week is with you guys seeing each other, that one time a week, that's fine. But you always have to set a time so you and her can have a date night once a week because you guys got all that other stuff that's going on in your life. You got your hobbies, you got your families, you have your careers. So you have to set a time where you two can get together and share each other's time with each other. That's a date night at least once a week. I'm a big advocate of that. I'm a huge advocate of that. So, especially if you guys aren't living with each other, even when you guys are living with each other, you have kids, things like that, you got to have a date night at least once a week, point blank. So, and like I said, that's something that you and her need to discuss. So that comes apart with the conversation.
Well, I better take Mama Bear out on a date then.
You better.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mama Bear, if you're listening, we got to do the date night because Mr. Damein here said, hey,
We got to do it.
We got to do it. We got to do it. I think it's very important, especially when you start having kids. Yeah. We get into such a routine
right.
that before you know it, your full focus is on those kids and you forget about the little things, right, that brought you together. So I think that's a great advice, Damein, is make sure that, listen, you keep things new, keep them fresh. I think we get in danger when we just do the same thing every week, all the time, and because it is it's easy to take each other for granted once we get married.
Right.
And a lot of times too, I see people always like, well, we used to, right?
Yeah.
We used to do that, right? We used to go out and we used to, So I think and our schedules get so busy, Damein.
Yeah.
And I would say this is very important, especially for entrepreneurs. People that run a business, listen, you got to take a time out. You ever watch that show? What's it called? They go in, Irvine. He goes into the restaurant, right? And these families have a restaurant. And Damein, they are like this at each other, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is family-owned restaurants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they can't even sit across the table from each other.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't used to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you. You gotta watch that, man. You gotta be careful.
And a lot of times I think that we get the idea when I think people like the idea of an entrepreneur, but I don't think they really understand that person is focused.
Yeah, that's called that's focused on your purpose in life, and you and like I said, if you have a go-getter like that, you'd be lucky to spend time with them once a week because they're so focused on building their empire. You'll be lucky. At that. Like I said, me personally, I can make it happen once a week, maybe twice, maybe twice a week. It just depends on how far we are along in our relationship. But we have to spend time with each other. We have to, you know. So whether you're building your purpose, building your empire or not, I mean, if you're with somebody, you commit, you're gonna have to spend time with them. You're gonna have to. So all that other, that's not gonna cut it. Because if that's the case, then you don't need to be with anyone. So you're gonna have to spend time with that other person. So you guys need to, figure out a schedule, discuss the schedule of when we can do this, what our plan, what we got going on this week, and you got to make it happen. So, I'm a true believer in integrity, but I do understand that things come up. So if you're not able to do something with someone, let them know. Don't leave them hanging. So that's a big red flag for some of you guys. Have a date set and then that person doesn't show up, or you try to call them there. That right there, that's cut off for me. I'm done with you. But unless something comes up and you guys discuss it and you guys have to reschedule it, then that's something you guys really need to talk about. So it's per relationship basis.
Yeah, I think that's good, Damien, that you made that point, because some people are just late to everything, right? They're late to the work. They're late on dates.
Yeah.
They're late on meetings. They're late. They're late on everything.
Right.
And I just think, man, if unless they come and say, listen, someone blew up my car, right? I otherwise, you need to really stop and say, man, if they're late for everything, they're going to drag you into that.
Right. And that show you how committed. If they're late, that shows how much they really care about you. So because a person can make time for you, and a person can, if something happens, a person can give you a phone call, let you know that they're going to be 10, 15 minutes late. That's an integrity and that's a character issue. That's a character flaw. So you don't want to be with somebody like that. So, I'm a big believer, and that goes as far as the phone too. If a person says they're going to call me back within 2 hours, I'll call you back in 2 hours. They don't call me back. Don't call me back to the next day. Well, you can at least let me know. I mean, you're the one that told me. Those are character flaws, and so those are red flags. I look for those. So, to me, a person like that, they're not worth my once a week time at all. Because if I can give you once a week, that means I consider you to be a special person. And I'm trying to make something work out with you. Or if not, I wouldn't even give you that one time a week. So, my time is important just as yours. So don't waste my time.
Hey, Damien, you're hard. I mean, I'm glad I'm a bear. I get you. Now let me ask you this, Damien. I mean, obviously, let's say things are going good, 3 or 4 dates, and she's like, Damien, I want to see you some more, right?
Yeah.
Like, I things are rocking, they're rolling, right? And I feel like I'm lonely without you. Watch out when they say I'm lonely without you.
Right. Well, I don't want to get that's player rule 126. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, if a person, you know what? I'll say this. If you really like that person and that person comes and tells you, hey, you know, I want to see you more than once a week, and you really like that person, there's nothing wrong with that. You guys can discuss it, fit that in your schedule. Like me personally, if that woman came and said, hey, Damien, I know you're busy. We see each other once a week, but I want to see you more. I have no problems with that. If I really like that person and I see that person could be a possible potential mate, I'm going to make time for her. If a person really wants to see you, and I tell guys this all the time, if a woman, and listen, guys, I'm going to say this. If a woman really likes you, she will let you know. You don't have to second guess that. So, yes, if she really likes me and I'm starting to like her and she's got, all the qualities that I want in a woman, yes, I am going to figure out some kind of way to see her more than once a week. I'm going to bump it up.
Yeah. And I was going to say this about the intimacy part. You guys can actually cook in the kitchen, and that's a form of intimacy, right?
Yeah.
Like, when we talk about intimacy, it doesn't just mean holding hands and snuggling.
Right.
Like intimacy could be cooking dinner together, maybe going on a walk, right? Now, I think I had this conversation with Damein. Damein, now you said you wouldn't date a girl that couldn't cook.
Well, let's say it like this. I've probably dated maybe one girl, and this is probably and I'm going to be honest, it's probably my entire life. One girl that couldn't cook, and what that what that tells me is that her mother or whoever her female figures didn't give them any home training. So or they didn't study.
Oh, that's
They didn't because that's something that a man wants into a potential mate is for a woman to cook. And like we had our discussion the other day about this, and he was asking me if I cooked. I said, well, listen, I said, I like to grill once or twice a week. So that's kind of my thing as far as cooking. I love grilling. Now I can make spaghetti things like that, but that's something that's unnormal for a woman to not know how to cook. And you need to question that. So kind of like it's kind of unnormal for a man that he doesn't know how to cut grass. That's unnormal. So if a woman tells me she doesn't know how to cook, the first thing I'm thinking to myself is, who raised her? Who raised her?
right. Well, so I mean, now I think there's a transition going to happen in Damien between, your parent, your grandparents, right, and the older genre, right? Like they actually learn to teach, to cook.
Right.
Now this younger genre, I'm concerned.
Yeah, the modern woman nowadays, yeah, it's a big concern. It's a huge concern. And I'm just speaking for me. I've been lucky enough to have dated women that knew how to cook, except for that one. And I had to question, what was going on with that. But yeah, in today's time, from what I've seen and what I know, it's the norm. I mean, that's something I can't get used to because I'm an '80s kid. So, I fortunately for me, I grew up when Big Mama was around. I was with my grandmother all the time, and so my grandmother cooked. She taught my mom, my aunts, all of them. They know how to cook. So that's something that I'm not used to because the women in my family know how to cook. So I was around that. So and so for somebody else to come into my life, for a female to come in my life that doesn't know how to do that, that's kind of that's kind of a strange thing for me because I was around that, with the women that were in my family. So I don't, like I said, I'm an '80s kid. I grew up with my grandmother around, and they did all of that. So that's just something that's not normal to me. And like I said, it's not normal for a man to not be able to cut grass. It's unnormal for a man to not be able to fix the toilet. Well, that's unnormal.
Well, let me go into that for a sec because Damien, I just being a person who's gone out and worked in people's homes, painting and such and such. You'll be amazed at how many men will not fix something as simple as drapes or something that has fell off. I mean, now this is a thing that I think we really need to go into and understand that. Now I have an issue if a man can't do the basic, right?
Yeah.
If he can't do the basic thing of fixing the toilet, maybe unclogging something,
right.
or like Damien was saying, mowing the yard. But you know that there are actual men out there that says, I'm not mowing no yard.
Really? I got an even better one for you. A man that cannot change a flat tire.
That too. Right?
There's something wrong with that. So, I know how to change brake pads. So, I was around, men that did that. So that's something that, I grew up knowing how to do. I was around women that knew how to cook and men that knew how to do manly things, change tires, work on cars, things like that. So, I mean, and like I said, I grew up where it was very old school. And so this newer generation that we have actually today, man, they're so lost and confused. I'm kind of like, ooh, boy. Whew.
So let me give. I don't want to just bring up the bad points. So let me bring some solutions. So if you're dating someone, maybe they didn't have a mother or father figure to help them or show them. Listen, there's always cooking classes, right? Maybe you guys can go together on a cooking class, learn how to cook. Uh, get online. I mean, there's plenty of cooking shows out there. All you got to do is watch it, right? Now, personally, for me, I'm okay with frozen food, right? Like I can eat frozen food, but there are people out there that they may not be okay with a frozen lasagna, right? They want a homemade scratch flour lasagna.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a meal. Cooked meal shouldn't be an everyday thing. I'm not saying that, but yeah, every once in a while, it's okay to have frozen food because some people aren't in the mood to cook. So just throw lasagna in the oven, be ready in what, an hour. So your meal's made. So
now I'm a big cereal eater.
Yeah.
Now I like cereal and milk.
Yeah.
And I'm good. I can go on to right. But I think that's something you need to have those discussions when you're dating someone.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, do you know how to cook? And if she says absolutely not,
I think one of the most important things is, of course, you need to ask, but you need to observe.
Yes. I think that's good, Damein. If she's inviting you over and she's saying she can cook, and you see smoke flying, right, from the stove.
I'm laughing because that's happened
before. Right? And you're like, oh, well, she said she could cook.
She said she could, but man, she sure is smoking up the place. She's burning something up.
So, right.
Yeah, so right then, she's in that case, she's just trying so she can impress you, but she really doesn't know how.
Yeah, so that would be a sign, a red flag, if you see smoke, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to admit that maybe they can't cook. Right? And they're trying to impress you.
Right. And listen, ladies, understand, I'm not trying to downplay everyone should cook. I'm just saying the way I grew up and the women that I was around. I was around when Big Mama was around. Big Mama knew how to cook. My mother knows how to cook. My aunts know how to cook. So I'm accustomed to that. So it was kind of unnormal for women in my family that didn't. I mean, all of them knew how to cook. So times change, and so like I said, we're dealing with the modern woman that doesn't do that. She's career oriented. Fine. I'm just saying, for me and a lot of people my age, we were around women that cooked, and we're around men that worked on cars. I'm an 80s kid, so we observed all of that.
Well, and I think the reason why I think this is important too is that you need to realize there's a big financial cost with somebody that doesn't know how to do the basics.
Right.
So if they're like, everything that in your house, just hypothetically, that needs to be fixed, and you got to call the maintenance guy every single time to get, it could be something as a clogged sink.
Yeah.
What if that man's like, I'm not touching that?
Yeah. Now I'll say this, like fixing pipes and shit like that. I don't know how to do that. So, but some of the pipes and water's leaking, and I don't know how to do none of that. So in that case, I am gonna call somebody. So I really don't want to mess nothing up. So I've done it before, and I just screwed up everything. So I don't do that. So yeah, somebody's else is gonna have to come in and fix those leakages. So yeah, no.
Yeah, and I know the basic plumbing, like the basic.
Right.
But I remember one time, David, I was fixing this pipe at this building, and I twisted too much.
Right.
And man, 800 pounds of water came flying out of that thing, right?
Right.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm running like a chicken with a head cut off because I'm like, ooh, what am I doing? Where am I going to go? Right? And it took hours, Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, hours to clean that up.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah, I'm telling you, stuff like that. I don't mess around with it.
So know your limits on that. If you are a guy and we're talking and you're sharing this video, guys, listen. At least know your limits on what you can or can't do, because otherwise sometimes you just make a bigger mess than what it's worth. Like cars, I won't touch a car. like I know how to put gas in the car and maybe basic battery, but that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can not maybe you can totally wreck that car to pieces if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Hell, I've changed the damn alternator before. So, and bleeding brakes, putting brake pads on, stuff like that. I know how to do stuff like that. But as far as like with the engine detail, the engine part, I'm not gonna mess with it because that's what mechanics get paid for. So, but little smaller things like batteries, brake pads, alternators, things like that. Yeah, I'll mess with that. But as far as something just straight engine related, I'm not gonna mess with it.
If you guys are on TikTok and you like to come on and give us your feedback on what we're talking about, I'd love to hear from you guys. I apologize for the one before. I couldn't get to it. So I'm still trying to figure out. We don't have an IT department.
No, we don't.
So we are just the IT guys. Right?
We're just learning as we go.
Yeah. So I appreciate, but this is conversation that you really need to know, like, because if you're a person that's counting on that person to cook, that could put a real strain in a relationship.
Yeah, and for a lot of guys, that's a deal breaker. I know some guys that they found out that the woman that they were dating couldn't cook, they were gone. They were old school, man. So they look at that as that woman being an alien.
Yes. And
these guys I'm talking about grew up in the same period that I grew up. Born in the 70s and 80s. So they're used to being around women that know how to cook. So if they're dating somebody new in this modern age and she doesn't know how to cook.
Well, I think it the other side of that too, it's a money deal, saving thing.
Yeah.
Because think about it, guys, if you don't know somebody that knows how to cook, that means you got to go out to eat 3 times because that person doesn't know how to cook, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking, $7, $8 for a meal. Add that up at the end of the month, right? So you really need to know it's a money saver. Like my wife, like before we came tonight, she made me a smoothie. By the way, that smoothie was really good. So if you guys don't know how to cook, or you feel like, oh my God, I don't want to tell them, it's better for you to be straightforward and just say, I don't know how to cook.
Right. And I'll say this. I think that if a woman gets married to someone or they're really dating something, they're serious about someone, I would almost guarantee that woman expects that man to at least know how to fix a toilet, at least know how to cut grass, or do any other something maintenance around the house. I'm pretty sure a lot of women feel that way. So what I'm telling ladies is, okay, let's flip the script. A lot of men are going to expect you to be able to cook. It goes both ways.
Yeah, and I think that's I'm just saying for today's modern generation that I'm talking to here, because like Damein saying, our generation, we pretty much hanged out and we know that, hey, uh, we know how to change a tire, we know how to, do the basics. But today's generation is a lot different. So I'm saying cost wise, that's something you guys really need to consider. And if you, like I said, if you don't know how, there's always a good time
Right.
to learn.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, not like
Yeah.
you can't learn.
Yeah. And we're not knocking people that know how to do that stuff. Just saying what we're accustomed to being around. So, like I said, I don't knock women that don't know how to cook. That's wait what you do, and so be it. But you know, it becomes it's easier and it's more cost efficient if you're not going out to eat every night. So, you know,
So I just, it's a good way to maybe spend some time uh, in the kitchen and having some affection time, learning to cook together. I think it's a good deal. Uh, and so what's the last one, Damien?
appreciation, recognition, and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. Appreciating them, appreciating their positives, not their negatives, their positives.
Yeah. So that's a good point to make. Uh, so I think a lot of times we don't stop to realize to treasure the person that we're with, right? Like, it is very important that you understand that people, men too, don't think men don't want to feel appreciated as much as women do, right? Like, because what we see on TV, you know, you really don't see men bring up the subject of being appreciated.
You know what? That made me think of something. There is nothing more appreciated in the world than when a man comes home from work and he's done something and his wife has recognized that and she says, "Thank you, baby, for doing this and doing that." There's nothing better for your lady to tell you that. There, there's nothing better. There's nothing better in the world for her to thank you for doing something. Because a lot of times you're right. Men, we don't get a lot of recognition. We're expected to give the appreciation of the ladies, but us men, we like those things too. And there is nothing a better feeling in the world for your lady to say something to you like that. So, ladies, I'm just letting you know that that will go a long way with a man.
Yeah, and I would say consistency, because sometimes in the beginning we say things, but down the road we just chalk it up. Oh, that's what they're supposed to do.
Right. Exactly. I'm gonna think that's what he's supposed to do.
Right.
He's supposed to do that.
Right.
You're like, okay, well, can I at least? I mean, can I get some kind of appreciation? I mean, yes, what I'm supposed to do, but thank you. Every once in a while, throw me a bone. Throw the dog a bone.
And you don't realize how much that affects. Actually, it causes you guys to draw closer.
It does. It does.
If you consistently practice to appreciate each other, it can make a massive difference in your relationship. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like before coming here, I lose everything. Damien, I mean, I'm the champ of losing everything. Right. So my wife knows I either lose my glasses, I lose my keys, right? And I can't find nothing.
Right.
So she gathered all my stuff up in a bag, my glasses. She made me a smoothie, put my everything that I needed for the broadcast into one bag. Now, it may seem simple, but that was greatly appreciated, because that meant that I didn't have to come home with the chicken, like my head with the chicken cut off, running around trying to get everything. But she knew that let me at least get the stuff together. So it's a little stuff, right, Damien?
Right. In other words, you know what we call that? She's your backbone.
Yes. Yeah, I like that, Damien.
You gotta have one that's your backbone because we're not perfect all the time. And so, you got a woman that, like I said, you ride or die, that's your backbone, and that right there, with the thank you, babe, and all that, man, that goes a long way. I'll be in love with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, you guys heard Damien here. Listen, it's really important that you guys realize that those little compliments that we give to each other is huge.
Right. And let me say this. See, the bear here, I know his backbone. He's got a backbone. He's got a ride or die type of lady. And that's what all of us men, that's what we want. But, and like I've said before, in today's time, that woman is very rare. I mean, the chances of you finding her is pretty much, it's over. I mean, you're probably not. So you're gonna have to accept. Well, I'm not, but you'll have to accept some of those bad qualities. I mean, I'm not gonna do that. But you want someone like that is a backbone. That's your backbone. And so the barrier, he has that. He's fortunate. But the rest of us guys, that's what we want. So
Well, let me tell you what. I had to go through a lot of crazy bears, Damien,
yeah.
before I got a good bear. Now, with that being said, you need to realize that you need to really pray for that person that you really are wanting.
Or it ain't gonna happen.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It don't just say, oh, this is, you need to take a real time and really and then write down for yourself some things that you are looking for and that you won't move on. Right? And so I was telling Damien last night, I was watching this show, guys. It was crazy. I mean, crazy, right? So it was called Addicted to Marriage. And I went from 4 times to 12 times, guys. 12. Been married 12 times.
Guys, why? Why would you want to marry somebody that's been married 12 times? 2 or 3 times is enough for me. 12? What that says is that something's wrong with her.
Yes. There's something going on upstairs that is not working right. So, but this is real life. We were watching 4 couples, Damien. 4. Right?
Right.
And I mean, the one couple. Now this is what I was talking about the other day. This guy, they went looking for rings, Damien, and she picks out the first ring, a $42,000 ring, right?
Right.
And I'm like, man, $42,000. And she was real about it, Damien.
Right. Yeah.
Like she wasn't like, oh, I'm kidding.
Right.
This is like, you're buying this for me.
Right.
So, it blew my mind.
Right. I mean, some women are like that, I mean, that is, to me, hypergamy at its finest. So, you got to be careful. I mean, if you just rolling and balling like that to where $42,000 ain't nothing. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you just balling out of control like that, but to the average person that doesn't make that kind of money, I mean, that's ridiculous, man. I tell her to go jump in the lake.
Yeah, and so and that's what we were talking about. Ladies, listen, don't listen. I know you guys will have the desire of the shiny ring, but be considerate of what that person is doing for a living. Like if he's a construction worker or just a general Joe, you don't have to go for the $42,000 ring. And it's a sign, it's a massive sign that that girl wasn't going to be happy until she gets that ring. That's a big sign, Damein.
I'd be like, deuces, deuce.
Right?
Nice to meet you. Hope you have enjoy the rest of your life. I'm going. Keep it simple. Get out of there.
And then the other one we had was there's this other couple, right? And she lived in this massive house. She did not want him to live with her until they got married, but wanted him to sell his house.
I know.
Right? Sell his house. And he's like, I'm not doing that unless my name is on the deed of the house. And you know what he said? Because he said, I saw too many of my friends out in the street.
Yeah. And I said this Monday night. You know, there are some women that are like the repo man. They're heartless. So you got to watch that. I mean, in that situation, there is no way that man should sell his house and move in with her with his name not being on the deed. There's no way, because she can kick him out at any other time. And what does he have? He don't have. He sold it. He doesn't have a place to go because he sold his house.
Right.
So he's pretty much under her wing. So he's pretty much. I mean, you don't want to put yourself in a situation like that to where you're desperate and one person or the other calls all the shots and you're dependent on that person. No, especially as being a man. No. I've been there, done that, and no, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, and the one that had been married 12 times, right? I mean, she had a spending problem, right? And the guy's like, we got bills to pay. And she's like, I don't care. And think about it, Damein. This one by this time is 60-some years old. And she had a spending problem.
But you know what? He should have known she was that way, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knew that. He
Yeah.
had to have known that. So he signed up for it. I don't feel sorry for him.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was crazy. So if you guys watch that show or give me your feedback on the show, what you guys thought, or I mean, about, I think it's on Discovery Plus, but anyway, before we end, I want to make sure that we give our time to our sponsor, the Social Butterfly, Damein.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you don't want to go without contacting the Social Butterfly. If you are an entrepreneur and you are wanting to start a business, make sure you guys reach out to the Social Butterfly and get it started. So give me a minute because we got the IT guy. Hold on. All right, so TikTok, I apologize. There's no way for me to put it up on the screen, but you can actually look her up, the Social Butterfly. Listen, guys, I started this, and she was it was a blessing to me for her to work on my marketing, and I have been seeing great results. So it's not just my word; it's actually things that I've actually seen go and be successful in. So regardless the size of your business, if you're small, medium, or large business, and maybe you're a church and you guys just don't know where to start, reach out to the Social Butterfly. And make sure you guys tell her that the bear sent you, right? Now, if you guys would also like me to come, maybe you're a small business and you have an event coming up and you're like, man, we need to get this event kicked off. If you would like me to come and visit your business and say hello and actually be just a spokesperson for that event for just a minute, listen, reach out to the social butterfly. She'll be able to contact me and make arrangements for me to come out to your smaller local business and get that off the ground. So, Damien, tell me a little bit about your book. I'm going to put up the link to Damien's book here. That's how actually we got connected, was through, for
Right.
you that never have seen this or watched this. Damien is a fabulous writer. So tell us a little bit about your book, Damien.
My book, The Game Advice, Donna the Prodigy, came out last July. I actually shelved the book um, uh, 2 years ago. I wasn't ready to, it wasn't the right time to put it out. And before I put that book out, I was working on my new book, the one that I'm working on now. But I realized I need to go back and revise The Game Advice and put that one out instead of putting the new one out now, because it makes more sense for, you know, The Game Advice is more of an introductory type of book. It's a self-help book for men, but can be read by women. And I really suggest that women read the book too, because in the second part of the book, the second half, I talk about lifestyle, which is just some subjects on dating and marriage and things like that. So you want to pick that up. You want to pick it up you can go to Amazon. Just type in my name, Damein Williams, Damein Williams, and it'll pull up both of my books. Attraction and Story of is on there too as well. I'm working on volume 2 to The Game Advice. I should have it finished by next month. But I'm kind of taking my time with it because a lot of people like The Game Advice. So my goal, I'm gonna have to exceed The Game Advice, because like I said, a lot of people like that book. And this one, the volume 2 to The Game Advice, is gonna be 10 times better. So I should have it out next month. I'm knocking on wood here, but yeah, pick up the first one, The Game Advice. I think you'll really like it. So also, I've had some people uh, reach out to me, but they found me. Uh, so I want to say this: you can get in contact with me on my Instagram, which is A Touch of Jazz, and I also have a TikTok. I just started it not too long ago. A Touch of Jazz, and my first and last name, Damein Williams. So I've had some people find me because I never really said how people can get in contact with me. So those are two ways that you can get in touch. Of course, now on with Dating with the Bear too, you know, get my information on this as well. So
Yeah, if you guys are still trying to get a hold of Damien for whatever reason, make sure you guys inbox me and just say, listen, I want a copy of that book, and I'll make sure that we get that into your hands ASAP. And again, guys, listen, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Make sure you share and make sure you like on all of our social media platforms.